I admit that I had full responsibility, and that's my child, you know, that's my child.
A little more than a year after his son's death from heat stroke in the backseat of a car, the pain and memories of that day are still vivid for Norman Collins.
I'm sentenced to life without my son, and I think that people need to understand that no matter how much you love your children, if you're not aware, if you're not being safe and cautious at all times, you can be in the situation that my wife and I are right now. And at this time, we can't hold our son, can't talk to him. And I think that's most important, that it can happen to anyone.
On this day, he and his wife joined his father, who's become an advocate for child safety, at a Batson Children's Hospital news conference. Together with other national, state, and local health and safety advocates, they told their story and warned of the dangers of leaving a child alone in a hot car.
While church services were in progress, for the next 2.5 hours, Bishop was inadvertently left in the car, which was parked in the church parking lot with the windows up, in 93-degree weather, still buckled in his car seat. According to the autopsy report, our beloved Bishop died from hypothermia, commonly known as heat stroke.
I think the vast majority of these cases are people just being rushed, being off their regular routine, being sleep deprived, and it's purely accidental, and it's so sad, and it just changes that family forever.
We have been working now for 2 years on coordinating a national program, which has culminated into the Where's Baby, Look Before You Lock program, to get out outreach and tips and advice to make sure that no family, that no parent, that no caregiver ever mistakenly leaves a baby behind in a hot car.
We keep speaking of cars because a car is such a risky environment because the temperature rises so quickly. It can increase in a closed car about 3 degrees every 5 minutes and get to a temperature of about 40 degrees higher than the outside temperature within 30 minutes to an hour. So literally within minutes, an infant can develop heat stroke. And for us in the emergency department, these are such sad and tragic cases because sometimes, depending on the degree of the hyperthermia when they come in, these babies can be very difficult to resuscitate.
When a child's internal temperature gets to 104 degrees, major organs begin to shut down. And at 107 degrees, that child can die. Now 107 is a lot lower than the temperature display that we've seen up above 130 degrees. So we see from this example that cars can heat up quickly. We know that it can be 20 degrees in 10 minutes or less. Heat stroke, you see, can happen faster than you think.
We've seen a number of, unfortunately, these tragedies happen when you have parents have a break in routine. One parent normally takes baby to daycare center or whatever. Emergency happens, somebody has to switch up, and then the parent that normally doesn't do that goes into autopilot and forgets, and baby gets left behind. Another set of circumstances, what happens is that parents or caregivers leave vehicles unlocked. So toddlers can then get into the vehicle, but they can't get out. We lose between 20 to 40% of the children that we lose to heat stroke end up losing their lives in this way. So just locking your car is a huge thing to do. And the third thing to remind anybody, when you're walking through a parking lot, and you happen to see somebody who left baby behind in the car, don't presume that mom or dad will be back in a couple of minutes. You don't want to trouble yourself. Call 911 immediately.
Sadly, Mississippi is not doing so well on deaths from hypothermia. It is in the top 10 states. There have been, I want to say, 13 deaths since 1998. Which is one of the higher rates if you're looking at it as a percentage of population.
In the first week of August, there were 9 children in 4 different states that died from vehicular hypothermia. So far this summer in Mississippi, we have lost 2 children to hypothermia or heat stroke, and we are attempting to get the word out so that the parents, the grandparents, the caregivers of these small children remember to check that back seat before they walk away from the car.
The message that we're sending is that if you're a human being, you have the proclivity to forget. Everybody forgets. And unfortunately, if a person's routine is disrupted by the slightest little thing, we can forget to do some of the most important things.
This is something that is so preventable, and we see so many tragedies in the ER that are preventable, and you just want to do whatever you can to get the word out to try to keep another family from having to go through that.
One may say that such a tragedy would never happen to me. Well, think again. It can happen, it does happen, and it did happen to us.
To learn more about children and heat stroke, go to safercar.gov and safekids.org. And for information about Batson Children's Hospital, visit childrenshospital.umc.edu. I'm Jim Albritton reporting.